If I cross my legs, are my slippers in the picture?
Nope. I wonder if it should be closer. I think it should be closer.
That's really good.
Right there?
Mm-hmm. My hair looks really blonde.
Ready?
Ready.
Mrs. Ross, welcome to 2021.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Happy to be here. So,
2020 was not what we expected.
it was, no, not at all.
Mm-mm.
But why don't we kind of share a year in review?
All right, 2020 in review.
Year in review. And action.
Well, we started off the year in January last year.
With hopes and promises of all this travel.
Far and wide. We had
Far
all
and
kinds
wide.
of things planned.
Yes. And just like Thanos, boom. Gone.
Well, not in January though. In January, we actually went to the Bahamas.
January started off with a lot of hope and promise. Yes, we took advantage of our American Express Platinum status matching, and there's a link up here to the video that walks you through that process. But through that card and the benefits of that card, we're able to status match up to having a Caesar's Rewards diamond level that provides for us each year 4 days and 3 nights at Atlantis, Bahamas. So we took advantage of that in January, and that was great.
Yeah.
It was nice to get away.
It was great.
It really was. And then our next trip was for Nairobi.
Well, it was scheduled for Nairobi.
Yes. So in the March time frame, like everyone else, I think a lot of people can kind of remember exactly where they were when they decided, hey, this thing is real.
Yep.
I know for us, we had gone out and had gone out because you said, hey, I think there's something going on. Her mama bear senses went off and said, in fact, it was the evening before, you woke up in the middle of the night, and you're like, could you go out and just buy a bunch of groceries? And so I did.
Just some canned goods and whatnot. And I can tell you what the precursor was.
Yeah.
I saw on the news the shelves in Italy. And I knew that something that was ravaging Italy was a short way away from hitting the United States, because it had traveled already and was actually very serious in Italy. So it did. It awakened me in the middle of the night, and Chris was good enough to go out and just buy some things so that if our grocery store shelves looked like those in Italy, then we would have some. We didn't hoard. We didn't go overboard, but...
Well, we did. You weren't there. But so we went to Aldi. I had a full shopping cart from Aldi.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, before the pandemic, right, to be at a grocery store in the middle afternoon and you've got your shopping cart piled to the top with canned goods and stuff, I was getting some very odd looks.
I know you were. But it's not as though you bought things that we haven't used.
No, it was just... This guy likes a lot of beans.
So when I said that we didn't hoard, what I meant was we didn't take more than what we were going to use.
Right. I mean, we still, we had 5 kids at the house, so we're like, we could justify it all. And then I went to Walmart, did the same thing, and I remember we got home, and there was 2 things that we heard. One was that Tom Hanks had contracted it, and the NBA,
that's it.
And you're like, let's get back in the car, let's go back to the store, because that's the sign of the apocalypse right there. So if all these NBA billionaire owners were closing up shop, it must be serious. So, but we still had hope that things would change more quickly than they did, and we had our travel plans for Nairobi. And so there's another video where we talk about hashtag Corona canceled, and we worked with KLM, the airline, and were able to cancel that trip, and with Airbnb to cancel that. And we really, that was in
April.
That was in April, yeah. And so we spent the next 90 days pretty much just holed up at home like everybody else.
Yes, we did nothing. We went nowhere. We were very protective over what the children did. I think it is safe to say that we were not in the minority at that point. I think most people really began taking some serious look at hygiene, at wearing a mask, and social distancing. Albeit we were early adopters.
Yeah, because I'm a germaphobe anyway, so, but all of a sudden the kids weren't giving me a hard time about washing their hands anymore, were they?
No, they weren't.
No, they were not.
Yeah, and one of the benefits that we've even noted is that wearing a mask has kept us from seasonal colds.
Yes, that is true.
So, I mean, it obviously makes a difference. Washing your hands so regularly and wearing a mask makes a difference.
But we made the most of the time that we had here at the house. We built an office in the basement.
We did.
We learned a little bit more about each other.
That's true.
We did, and then so
I actually like him more now that I've spent this much time with him.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
So it's true.
I've always liked her. I've never had a shadow of doubt. But yeah. So in June, we decided that we were at a point where we just needed to get out. More specifically, Stephanie's like, we got to get out someplace, and so
that was me. I just needed to get out. I couldn't take another just mundane, same old. We had to go somewhere. We could be safe, but we had to get out of the house.
Yeah, and we'll say this a few times. We do not want to minimize this pandemic, and we appreciate everyone who has made the decisions for themselves not to even leave their house.
Yep.
So with that all said, we decided that there was a way that we could at least go to Chicago, which is about an hour's way for us, and spend a weekend there. And so we took advantage of Hilton points that we had to stay downtown. And even that was not a normal experience. At that time, most of the restaurants and things were still closed, but it was summer, so that there were a few that had some open seating that we
Outdoors.
could go to.
Right.
And there's a video on that as well that we'll link it as well. But it was nice for us to just kind of get out and see, frankly, if we were comfortable being out there, even with our masks and the personal protection and things, in that environment.
It's true. And it was still kind of a mixed bag at that point.
That's another thing that you'll see is that, and kind of spoiler alert, once you get outside the U.S., people take this a lot more seriously than Americans do. And that was somewhat disappointing, without getting all political and all that. Just human behavior is such that the tendency is to want to care about others. But sometimes, particularly with the rights and the privileges we have here in the U.S., people feel that they're being put upon. And it was disappointing the number of places we would go to where, people would see signs that would explicitly say to wear masks, and they wouldn't, or they wear it below their nose. And it's just, that's why we can't have nice things sometimes.
Well, and I think, too, it was really eye-opening when we did travel outside of the United States because, I guess, spoiler alert, there was travel in 2020. And some of the mechanisms that are outside of the United States to keep their citizens safe really were eye-opening.
Yeah, very novel. Everything from restaurants having a place to dip your shoes in when you walked in, the adherence to having hand sanitizer everywhere. Really, the only city in the U.S. that we've been to and we'll talk about it a little bit, Seattle, that was the only place that even outside you were obligated to wear your masks.
Yeah.
Again, but you go to other countries, that was the norm.
It was the norm.
So we went to Chicago, we had a good time there, and then we decided to use part of our travel budget for the year, and we bought a convertible.
Yep.
So we nothing extravagant, at least in terms of what we paid. We did buy a Mercedes, but it was used and
it is 2 years away from being a classic.
Yes.
So she's an oldie but a goodie.
Very fortunate in what we're able to get. But that really opened us up to being able to take more road trips. But the first road trip,
And it was fun.
a lot of fun. The number of times Stephanie would say, "I just need to get out," and she would be off in the convertible.
That's what I did to stay sane and safe in the summer of 2020. I drove that convertible a lot, every day.
But we had a choice when we got ready for our next trip, which was to go to the Smoky Mountains in July. So we own a timeshare, and we'll make a video about it at some point. We bought it on the secondary market and got a great price for it. But one of the benefits is being able to stay at other places. And Diamond Resorts called us up and said, "Hey, if you'd be interested in sitting down for, I think it was it an hour or 90 minutes presentation, we'll give you a free stay at the resort in the Smoky Mountains." And so we drove down for that.
We did not drive the convertible.
We almost drove the convertible, and then we're glad that we didn't, because it just really wouldn't have been the best area for it to be in terms of being in the Smoky Mountains. But that was a great trip.
It was fantastic.
So you'll see a theme here with the trips that we did take, where we spent a lot of time outdoors. We spent a lot of time going to places where there was many opportunities to be socially distanced.
Yes.
And between Smoky Mountains itself and going to the not that but the outside. Watch your mind. The zip lining. Yeah, that's what I meant. Of course, that's what I meant.
I thought you meant the toboggan thing.
Oh, the toboggans too.
Right?
Yes.
Well, I don't remember what it's called.
We had a lot of
Anakista
moments. Yes, and Anakista.
Anyway.
We were able to get out and really enjoy ourselves and get a lot of fresh air. And that was our July.
And we have a video of that, right?
We do. That video is up there as well.
Okay.
But that was a nice road trip.
It was a great road trip, and it was a great stay. And for the most part, people wore masks, and we were able to stay distant.
Yeah.
I mean, there were a couple of exceptions where, we didn't stay too long downtown just because there were so many people.
Yeah.
But otherwise, being outdoors, doing the zip lining, doing that toboggan at Anakista, that was a lot of fun.
It really was. And again, it was one of those things where, part of our whole theme is that we don't really spend a lot when we take these journeys, these adventures. And I'll do a better job this year, probably in the thumbnails, like right up here, actually letting you know before you even watch the video, how much we spent. And hopefully that will encourage people to feel that this is something worth watching, because we'll kind of start sharing a little bit more about those details. I didn't do a very good job of it last year, so I may go back and revisit some of those thumbnails.
I think it's because you tasked it to me and I didn't do it.
Perhaps.
I think that's on me. So if you're going to do it this year, it'll get done.
We'll work together. But then our next trip, we did take the convertible, and that was to a winery in Iowa. Who knew?
Yep.
But Cedar Ridge Winery in Iowa was a fantastic trip for us. It was about a 4-hour drive. Yeah. Which was just beautiful. We had great weather there and back. And again, it was nice to get out in the open. Had a hotel stay the night before. And off the beaten path. And that's something we would have expected. But it was great.
It's not something that we'd ever thought about doing before. So the pandemic really forced us to think outside the box.
Yeah. And we like to think that, especially because we're very budget minded and really try to focus on getting the most value when we travel, we do try to go to places that are either unique or off season, but this was something that would never have been on our list before. But wherever you are, going to Time Out website or others, you can always find places that are a day trip away from you that you may not have thought about before. And so we're really happy to take advantage of that. To kind of roll back a little bit, back in the March-April timeframe, one of the things we noticed were that a lot of the airlines, with our airline of choice being American, were offering some really deep discounts on tickets. I think they were hopeful that people would still travel because business travel had dropped off. And two great things happened as part of this. One was that they were dramatically lowering their prices for round trip tickets, particularly in the U.S. And two, they were selling those tickets with no change fees, which is really important. So that if you decided to change your mind, or circumstances changed with the pandemic, you weren't risking losing that ticket, or worse, still having the ticket but losing a portion of it because of change fees.
Right.
The third was because we are platinum with American, they also had said that while you can buy a basic economy ticket that typically doesn't provide for selecting a seat, nor are you able to do baggage. They're allowing us as platinums to still have those two benefits. And so we ended up buying some tickets for New York and for New Orleans, neither one of which we actually went to because they were in they were considered hot zones.
Right.
But for the tickets that we bought I believe it was to New York for $85 round trip, we were able to use those tickets and instead go to Seattle.
Right.
And again, I love Seattle. I've lived there for a while. To be able to go there with you was fantastic. And that video is up there as well. Somewhere up here or down there, around here. It's here. But we got to go out to Puget Sound, do some whale watching.
That was so fun.
It really was.
That was so fun.
Yeah. Shout out to Ivars. Oh my gosh, I love Ivars. Fish.
And to the whale watching cruise.
Yes.
That was a ton of fun.
It really was. And even on the boat, everyone had to wear their masks. They had hand sanitizer around, and
and the chairs were separated.
Yes, they were. I think they had like half of the normal.
Yes, half capacity.
Half capacity.
Yep.
And so, for those of you who are considering traveling, these are things that you can look for when you are making your decisions around your itinerary. Are these places that are outdoors? Are they making specific modifications in their capacity so that you can feel more comfortable and you are lowering your risks?
Right.
But that was another fantastic trip that we took out there, both in Seattle, which, as I mentioned earlier, was the only city that we've been to in our travels that they were obligating people to wear masks outside. They actually had hand sanitizer stations out on the streets. And for those of you who are making considerations for traveling, it does give you much more of a sense of comfort to know that you're around like-minded people that are also being very socially conscious about the privilege of being able to travel and awareness that we're still in the midst of a pandemic. And
making the difference to shorten the life of the pandemic.
Absolutely. And so the next month, we had probably our most unique stay. So we found an Airbnb. We have one of our kids lives down in Atlanta. We wanted to visit, but Atlanta being someplace we weren't that keen to spend time in, we found the most novel of yet for us Airbnbs, and that was.
We've had some really novel places that we've stayed.
Yes,
but this one in particular was off the beaten track,
literally,
and was an RV parked on a horse farm.
On a horse farm, yeah. So Foundation Farms, we thank you again for just a phenomenal experience. It was our first time together in an RV. I think your first time at all. And so while it wasn't roughing it per se, for us who are used to being in slightly better accommodations or more rich, luxurious accommodations,
yes,
it was fantastic. And to wake up to the horses and the llamas or no, not llamas, alpacas out there was a treat.
It was. It was a lot of fun, and it was great to see the kids. Again, we hiked. We did outdoor
Yes, we
activities.
went to Stone Mountain. Wow, that was a day. It was beautiful.
Woo!
Yeah.
That was a lot of walking.
It's a lot bigger in person than what it looks on film. Don't let them ever fool you about that. But again, a great experience, and we would not have had that on our list of places to go. But it was a great time.
Yep, I'm glad we did it.
And that was in September, and then October we went back to Chicago again. Just I think 1 or 2 nights we went over for that, and just another wonderful experience. Just being in the city, things were a little more open. So we were able to go to Lou Malnati's and had our first Lou Malnati's pizza.
That was good.
But they were all socially distanced tables there as well.
Very much so. They had the tables really far apart.
Yep.
So I appreciated that because it was indoors and it was cold out.
Yeah, it was. And then we made our second international trip this year, and that was back to Colombia, and this time to Medellin. This was probably the one that we were most aware of getting outside of what had been our comfort zone in terms of travel for the year.
True that.
But there were a couple things that made us feel more comfortable about it. One, we knew that the number of people that were traveling was considerably less, and so the flights that we were going to be taking were going to be relatively empty, and that actually was the case. We're also fortunate that many times when we travel, both because of having the more premium seats, as well as I'm very diligent about doing a lot of seat jockeying online before we fly, we usually will end up having empty seats around us as well. And then, of course, the country itself. Colombia is one of these countries, and Medellin specifically is one of these where travel and tourism is a very big part of their economy. And so they really were proactive and really insistent on their own citizens being very mindful of the importance of wearing masks and having hand sanitizer and being socially distanced.
So I'd like to just mention the hand sanitizer equipment. It just took us by surprise. It's a very mechanical, rudimentary design with a foot pedal, and it took me by surprise when we were first using it. I didn't understand why there was a metal lever that was in the way of using the pump.
Yeah.
And so anyway, what an effective way though.
Yeah, because the foot pump that you use, and you push the foot pump. The foot pump, and it presses down on the lever for the hand sanitizer, so you don't have to touch it.
Great idea.
How many times did I go up to him like, I don't know why this bar is in the way, and so and then you figured it out because you're much smarter than I.
No, because there was a sign and I actually read it.
And she knows how to read.
And so a great design. Way to go, Colombia.
Yes.
To make it easy to sanitize our hands without, tainting the hand sanitizer bottle.
Yeah. And so as part of that, we also traveled out to Guadalupe because I think last year, or maybe the year before, we watched the Endless Adventurers, one of their videos, and they had gone to Guadalupe, and I think they had actually gone up El Pino.
Yeah.
And we're like, wow, we should do that.
Yep.
And
it was a year before we went.
Was it?
It was almost to the day. It was 1 year before we went.
And so it was kind of like on our bucket list. And right around the time that all these tickets were being heavily discounted, we saw this fantastic price for going to Medellin in November. And it just so happened at the same time that we said, hey, that's where Guadalupe is. It's only a few hours away, and that's where El Pino is. And so we decided...
And the mushrooms.
Yes, and the mushrooms. So by the time you see this video, I may have those posted. I am really behind on the videos, but we got to stay in a geodesic dome at an eco-friendly habitat.
It was incredible.
It really was.
Wow. So when you were talking about one of the most unique places, that's right up there too.
It is.
So the RV for Airbnb, but a geodesic dome out in the middle of nature, that was tremendous. And there was white glove service.
Yeah.
So that's a really great place.
And it wasn't just for sanitary reasons. It was actually like white glove too.
Yes.
But
and it was just a tuk-tuk ride away from El Pino.
yes. And so, but for our travel, both within Medellin as well as between Medellin and Guadalupe, you'll see a link here to personal driver.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
He was not just a personal driver. He was a personal driver,
Yeah.
translator.
he's our new travel friend.
Yes.
And we'll have a link to his company below as well. Just a fantastic experience, and we can't wait to see him again and take advantage of just his wonderful car service.
Yep.
And that was it. You know, we would have loved to have traveled more, especially internationally last year, but it didn't happen. But we're really appreciative and thankful for the travel we were able to take advantage of.
Certainly.
Now, for 2021, we have so much in travel credits with airline trips that we had to cancel that we've got kind of booked up for this year. So fingers crossed that most of those will be able to get accomplished. But
Hope so.
I actually have here in our Better Together notebook.
All right. Handy
sure.
dandy notebook.
Let's see if I got them all here.
Okay.
St. Croix,
St. Croix, U.S. Virgin Islands.
Lisbon,
Ooh,
in Portugal. Paris.
Okay. Looking forward to it. The kids are too.
London.
This is Paris and London. That's with the kids.
Yeah, so that's one we forgot. So that was a trip that we actually had scheduled for June of last year.
That's right.
Got canceled. Went through a lot of troubles with Hopper. There's a video on that as well. But suffice it to say, we were finally able to get our credit back. We rebooked for this year, so fingers crossed that that two of our kids will get their graduation trip to Paris and London.
Right.
Hilton has made an offer for us, so we're going back to Las Vegas, and not necessarily to go to Las Vegas, but to go to Zion National Park and to take the Angel's Landing Trail,
Right.
which would be a hoot.
I am really looking forward to it. That is going to be fun.
And then the trip that Stephanie's really been looking forward to is to Rome and Florence.
Cannot wait. Venice. We talked about Florence.
We did talk about Florence.
But we decided to go to Venice.
Yes. But this is another one where, going back, so we had bought tickets to both New Orleans and New York. We had also bought tickets to Atlanta, and I think those tickets were like $59 or $75.
Right.
On the video we have up here on Atlanta, you'll notice that when we got to the airport, we had the option of taking a flight the next day in exchange for travel vouchers, which we did. Mm-hmm. Those vouchers that they gave us were $500 each. We were able to find basic economy flight round trip nonstop to Rome for $585.
Right.
And so for $85 each, we're going to Rome, have a just beautiful Airbnbs, both places. In Venice, we're actually staying right on the canal. We have our place opens up to the canal,
excited.
so very excited about that as well.
I'm so excited about it. Oh my goodness.
And we hope that there's enough time between now and then that at least they'll be open up for travel, but probably still have to take some precautions.
I'm sure. And we will.
Yes, absolutely. Then we also have Cabo San Lucas. And this will be my first, because I don't think going to Tijuana counts as going to Mexico.
It counts. Tijuana's in Mexico.
But we're going to Cabo San Lucas, and again, we're taking advantage of our timeshare with Diamond
Mm-hmm.
Diamond to go there and spend a week there as well. So that's what we've got planned for 2021.
Yes.
We may change it up a little bit. We're thinking about the possibility of going to Munich for the Christkindl market, which will be interesting for you because it will be cold.
It will be cold.
Apparently there's no way to get it 80 degrees in Munich in December. But, you know what? I'll see what I can do.
You're silly.
I'll call around.
So we have gone to Christkindl Market in Chicago every year. And this year it was canceled. Well, last year.
Last year
in
was
2020
canceled.
it was
Yep.
canceled. So to make up for it, this guy wants to take me to Munich.
What is go to Munich? You aren't going to keep baby from going to Chris Kindle Market. We'll just go to Munich. So, and we'll see what else the year brings for us. You know, I think there's probably going to be more road trips in the itinerary for us because they're just great getaways, and we've got to justify having that convertible taking up a space in our garage.
Fair enough.
So with that, listen, we just appreciate everyone who took the time to watch our videos last year. This is our first full year doing these, and it's been a great opportunity for us to kind of share. We hope you've enjoyed it. Many of you have commented, and we thank you for that. As we move into 2021, we'd love it if you would both share this with others. If you like our videos, clicking on the like button, and also considering subscribing. Two things happen if you subscribe. One, you get notice when you go into YouTube of new videos that show up. Also, it increases the number of subscribers that we have that then YouTube uses as part of their algorithm to determine which videos they highlight. The more they're highlighted, the more people watch, the more that we get out of it just knowing that people are appreciating what we're sharing. Also, as we mentioned earlier, we will do a better job this year of communicating out, how much we're spending on these adventures, because we do want to make it something that people realize that we're not made of money.
Nope.
We have budgets like everybody else, but we do try to find unique and fun things to do. We take advantage of points on credit cards and things like that, and hotel benefits. But all of it really comes down to us finding ways to kind of enrich our lives and lives of our kids through opportunities that may not have arisen if we're just so focused on having to spend a lot of money to go somewhere and feel constrained to try to do things more economically and fun and funner.
More fun.
More fun.
More funniest.
Yeah. Anything else you can think of?
No, just thank you so much for participating and coming along with us on our journeys. It's been a lot of fun, and we wish you a healthy and prosperous 2021.
Absolutely. Bye, everybody.